You know, you would think the politicians and bureaucrats being ousted by Trump would take it easy their last few months in office, and nope, they're trying to start World War III.
The system will autonomously launch approximately 4,000 nuclear missiles at the USA and its NATO ally, triggering global devastation. Destruction will be widespread, ensuring that even in death, Russia retaliates.
Yeah, that right there is called the Russian Dead Hand system. That, of course, will allow it to launch nuclear weapons, even though its entire government and population is wiped out. So yeah, there's that, as we just sent long-range ballistic missiles into Russia in a major escalation, as just yesterday, Biden officially authorized the use of these long-range U.S. missile systems that also have nuclear weapons capabilities to strike deep inside of Russia. And just a few hours ago, that's exactly what Ukraine did. As just about 4 hours ago, 8 a.m. Eastern time, Ukraine launched 6 long-range ATACM missiles at a Russian military base in Berzyansk, signaling the first long-range missile attack, going after military installations and staging grounds for the Russian military. Specifically, that was readying troops for the larger Kursk offensive. As it's important to note here, the United States didn't just authorize these Ukrainian missiles, but also helped them directly be launched with direct satellite capabilities that, of course, the Ukrainians do not have themselves, as these missiles cannot be fired without direct U.S. NATO assistance. So far, we don't know the exact extent of the result of these 6 larger long-range advanced missile systems, as in response to this, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has just changed their nuclear weapons doctrine, which officially now has lowered the threshold to launch nuclear missiles. As the British Prime Minister had this to say about the larger escalations, which somehow he pointed the finger directly at Russia for doing.
Just quickly, Russia's also threatened nuclear escalation. Are you comfortable with that when people at home are watching this, worrying that you could put us at risk?
Well, it's very important. It's very important that we're steadfast in our support for Ukraine. Russia is the aggressor,
Even
and
if
Russia
it unleashes nuclear war?
Russia has to be the one that makes the move to stop this war. It's within their gift, but we must support Ukraine. It's impacting not just Ukraine; it's impacting the rest of the world, including the UK.
Is your message to viewers back home that there will not be a nuclear war, because that is what Russia is threatening?
My message is that we need to ensure that Ukraine is put in the best possible position. This is 1,000 days of conflict, and there is a very high cost if Russian aggression is seen to pay off.
Wait, what? How? Again, he never really directly answered the question, shifted the blame towards another country escalating the situation, when clearly the United States and NATO are escalating the situation, specifically at a very politically opportune time that does signal larger troubles for Donald Trump, as in my opinion, a lot of this is being done in order to give him a harder time as president of the United States to officially stop this conflict, but there also could be underhanded kind of maneuvers being made by a lot of powerful forces out there that are now flexing their power and showing, look, you better do what we tell you to do, Donald Trump and new political leadership, or else we're just going to blow up the world, as they're bringing us closer to the blowing up of the world. And why are we doing this? What's the justification here? What's the strategy? What's the goal here? And again, all of this is nonsensical, as of course, launching these missiles isn't going to prevent the slow steamroll of a lot of the Ukrainian territory that currently is being seized by the Russians, as clearly the Russian war machine has been activated. They have way more people. The conflict is going exactly like we told you it was going to go, and we told you specifically here months ago on this specific channel that it's only going to be a matter of time until these long-range advanced missile systems that do have nuclear capabilities will be used against Russia. And this is why Russia is taking this as seriously as they are, because these missiles are extremely difficult, if not impossible, to stop, and could be carrying nuclear payloads. As, of course, some Russian geopolitical strategists are now specifically talking about how this could be a larger kind of test of what would happen during an all-out nuclear war, as Russia is now threatening all-out nuclear war. As the Russian foreign minister had this to say about the current escalation.
If long-range missiles are going to be applied from Ukraine into Russian territory, it will also mean that they are operated by American experts, military experts. And we will be taking this as a qualitatively new phase of the Western war against Russia, and we'll react accordingly. As regards Trump's position on Ukraine, I cannot guess. He said that he is a president of peace, not the president of war. Politicians in particular, who declare that they prefer peace to war, deserve support, I think, in general.
Now, what does respond accordingly mean? Well, again, we're going to see, as the situation doesn't look good for the people of Europe, but also the people of the world. As Owen Schroeder responded to all of this by saying, "Our leaders are psychotic." As another Twitter user, Clandestine, says, "Well, the Biden regime just started war with Russia." As, quote, "Putin has repeatedly warned that if this happens, that Russia would consider it as being a direct war with the U.S. and nuclear response would be on the table." And it's fair to say, from my own personal opinion, a lot of people driving this, celebrating this, cheerleading this are psychopathic, crazy, insane individuals. As of course, why in the world would you cheerlead something that could lead to the end of the world unless you're just a crazy sociopath that believes that there's too many people in this world? In related news, we have Alex Soros that came out and said that, quote, "This is great news," responding to this, as a lot of people responded in the comments section for this by saying things like World War III is apparently great news for this psycho, as of course another person responded by saying looking at the prospects of potential thermonuclear war is great news. You are a sociopath, a demonic, deranged evil. And let's just be honest here, this is great news if you're a part of the military-industrial complex and love to see young Slavic men have their lives ended, which is the direct result of this entire buffoonery and conflict that is absolutely insane. As the Financial Times is even talking about how European troops will be used to secure Trump's peace deal, as the Russians probably won't be liking that personally themselves, as I think it's fair to say having more European Union troops on their border won't help de-escalate the current situation, as of course the German army is preparing for potential war. So are many other European countries. Sweden has even started to give out pamphlets telling their civilian population to prepare for, an all-out nuclear Armageddon. As I think the most rational take from today is from The Economist, as they released an article today that reads, "Firing American missiles at Russia won't change Ukraine's fortune." As of course, it won't make a significant difference in the larger conflict and the larger battles that are still unfolding right now in the Donbass region, where things aren't looking good for, of course, the Ukrainians. This as they write that Joe Biden wanted to send a message to North Korea, as it is being reported that the exact military base that the North Koreans are in right now near the Kursk region was specifically the one targeted by these long-range ballistic missiles. As Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chief of the Security Council of Russia, responded on social media by saying, quote, "Russia's new nuclear doctrine means NATO missiles fired against our country could be deemed an attack by the bloc on Russia. Russia could retaliate with WMD against Kiev and key NATO facilities. Wherever they're located, that means World War III." These are the words from, again, the former president of Russia, who is still a part of its government. As @RationalPost said on Twitter, "Putin's restraint is what's saving us from nuclear war. None of us are free not to pay for war." Meanwhile, in the United States, there's a conversation about confused mentally ill people and what kind of bathrooms they should be using. Yeah, I'm sorry, but the list of priorities here, not the same. As I think right now we need détente, we need peace. Overwhelmingly, the American people voted to end this war by voting for Donald Trump. More people than ever, specifically when it comes to the popular vote, have voted for Donald Trump, whose main key campaign issue was ending the war and saying, "I will stop World War III," which some geopolitical experts already argue we are in right now, as of course this larger kind of proxy conflict is unfolding not just in Europe, but it involves Iran, it involves North Korea, it involves China, and we have to see the larger kind of geopolitical picture here, as of course if all hell breaks loose in Europe, that means other countries will see this as a perfect opportunity to launch their strikes, their attacks, and situations that have been brewing and unfolding in places like India and Pakistan will, of course, only unfold on a grander, bigger scale. Situations that have been already underway inside of the Middle East would also expand. Situations in, the South China Sea with Taiwan will also expand. North Korea, South Korea, probably expand as well, as this will be the opportune time for a lot of governments to say, hey, this is our opportunity, this is our chance. And very fast and very quickly, our situation on the world stage changes dramatically. And now we got to take a step back and you got to ask yourself, why is Joe Biden doing this? As it's fair to say, it's not Joe Biden doing this. It's probably a lot of the same government officials whose jobs and security is under threat from a new Trump administration that is promising to audit them, to investigate them, and more importantly, hold them accountable for all the actions that they have been making against the American people. And being held accountable is something that a lot of these people don't want to happen, and they're willing to do extraordinary things in order to prevent that. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the larger kind of maneuver that's being made here behind the scenes, because there's no other way to rationally kind of discuss this larger kind of gambit, this larger kind of gambling of all human life here on this planet. Why are we doing this? I have another theory, but before getting into all of that, if you like our work and support our work and appreciate us calling this out for, 20 plus years, as you look at our content, specifically around this particular topic, especially when it comes to foreign policy, we have been right about this stuff from the very beginning. We have been warning about this very particular escalation that has been brewing for a very long time, all on this YouTube channel. You go years and years back on this YouTube channel, you look at our geopolitical kind of predictions, breakdowns, and details of what we've been saying is going on here. It's been right on the money. And if you want to support that, support us by getting a shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, as we got a lot of really great, awesome, exclusive shirts. We had a problem with some of our shirts beforehand, but now we are, of course, uploading every single shirt that we have here. As, of course, this is one of them that we started to produce that reads, "Make America Not Fat Again." We also have these special hats that you can only exclusively get on wearechange.shop. And I think this kind of larger messaging is going to be extremely important since, of course, if there's a global conflict, it's not going to be, let's just say, to your advantage to be fat. If you're on the battlefields, if you're on the front lines, if you're in those small trenches, it's not good to be fat, as you're going to have to run from all the drone swarms that are going to be chasing you down in the open fields, as, of course, the drone swarms don't take any prisoners. And, hey, at least maybe on camera, they'll be able to catch one of the shirts from thebestpoliticalshirts.com, as that's probably our dystopian future coming our way, as there's now some very serious considerations about actually implementing the 25th Amendment against Joe Biden, who clearly isn't making these decisions anyway. Who is? Why are they doing it? Again, I think we're only left for us to be able to speculate about this, as there's a lot of different options. There's a lot of different possibilities of what could be potentially unfolding right now. And I think one of them that has to be seriously contended is that there's also a lot of money to be made in war. And these desperate military-industrial complex, sociopathic, greedy, money-hungry demons could just be after more money, as they could probably be getting their latest kind of cash grab right before this larger conflict, right before this major war is over with a new Donald Trump presidency. As Matt Gaetz, who soon is likely to be appointed as the new Attorney General of the United States, called a lot of this out on Timcast a couple months ago.
I think that the reason we are as involved in Ukraine as we are is because Afghanistan wound down. And if we still had Afghanistan to launder money through, there probably wouldn't be the need for this type of excessive involvement in Ukraine. But I think we can look at Afghanistan and we can look at what's going on here and say what a lot of these defense contractors are pushing toward is how to have an extended kind of low yield war. Like if there's a way to stretch this thing out, turn it into a 20, 30 year kind of thing where there's a whole lot of money moving around and unaccountable pots and a lot of weapons getting bought. And then, oh man, the stockpiles, well, we got to spend more money to reload those.
Yep, as right now the United States has a very low stockpile of munitions, which is not a good position to be in, as there are threats for a full, all-out global war that is represented through this proxy war now, with Donald Trump promising to end the war. I do think these larger escalations are a response directly to, of course, the rug being pulled out from the military-industrial complex that wanted this war to continue. Because if that one ends, where else are they going to get the excuse to, of course, have all of their blank checks and the larger operations that include also human trafficking and other horrible things that does happen during major times of conflict? And it does seem, if you look back at the last few years, there always is a conflict. There always is a larger excuse. There always is larger operations at play here that are disguised, that are integrated into these larger, quote, operations that are happening militarily. So now that Afghanistan is over, now that Ukraine could be potentially over, it could be that they're just ramping things up in order to, of course, get a bigger check. But also, I think more importantly, to create a situation where it's going to be almost extremely difficult, if not impossible, to end this conflict. Because what better way to, of course, prevent it from being simmered down by, of course, heating it up, raising the temperature, and creating a very dangerous situation for all of us and all of free humanity. And this is something that American people, again, didn't sign up for, don't want. There was no declaration of war. Congress didn't vote on this. We didn't say, hey, are you guys okay? We're going to take your money and we're going to, launch nuclear-capable weapons over to a nuclear-ready country. You're okay with that? Vast majority of people would say, frick no. Are you kidding me? Are you insane? And then those people would be like, yeah, we are. Because let's be honest here, they are. They are absolutely crazy people. Some of them just want to see the world burn. Why? I don't know. Some people are just as destructive. And even though you're not that destructive, even though you know, hey, I don't want this. I don't want to, create something like this. It doesn't mean that other people won't be willing to go as far, especially in order to secure their kind of superficial, larger monetary incentives that sadly do drive them, along with their larger hatred of all of free humanity. Again, we're very far away from Donald Trump taking political office and ending these wars. And with the way that things are ratcheting up, I think we are in an extremely dangerous situation, as this situation is probably leveraged against Donald Trump, leveraged against the American people, the will of the American people that sadly is being usurped by these war-hungry eugenicist demons that believe that there's too many people in this world. And again, specifically, having Slavic young men have their lives ended here is something that is absolutely, especially with the low birth rates that already are plaguing Europe and Slavic men, is a troubling development for my people. And if you agree, share this video to at least try to get some common sense talking points here and our larger voices out there that we are not okay with this. I'm not. If you're not, get this video out there to the general public. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys getting the shirts on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We got a lot of great designs that are out there, and we greatly appreciate your support. We return 6 p.m. Eastern on this particular YouTube channel with a 2-hour live podcast conversation that you guys could be a part of by signing up to lukeunfiltered.com. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys signing up, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on, as long as we still have a world, youtube.com/We Are Change.